Okay, here we are again with another G.I. Joe Classified Series unboxing, and this is the Cobra Night Creeper, Night Creeper. I keep going back to that Bee Gees song, man. So there's the portrait of our guy on the side of the box. Here's some artwork on the back. Got a couple of night creepers creeping around. And not sure what the background is supposed to be specifically. So we can see the alternate head and some throwing star hands. Now, the Night Creeper, I believe he came about the same year as the gray camo Storm Shadow figure. I seem to remember getting mine the same year as that one. And he basically filled a hole that now existed in the collection where, Cobra didn't have a bad guy ninja anymore, so they created the Night Creeper to fill that slot. Unlike Storm Shadow, the Night Creeper is not actually supposed to be a unique character. He is an army building figure, so you could buy a lot of them. And there was eventually a Night Creeper leader, and he had a pretty funky outfit with some tiger stripe pants and he came much later though, but there was two different colors of the Night Creeper leader. One was orange and black, and the other one was purple and yellow. And I think the purple and yellow one probably made more sense considering how the Night Creepers themselves, you can see, wore purple, but it wasn't the same shade as purple. It was more of a royal purple than this one that's almost kind of burgundy, little more wine colored type of purple. But I personally preferred the original version of the Night Creeper leader that was orange. But that's just me. I don't think there's much else to say about this package. I think we've been over everything. He's figure number 121, so he's a slightly older one that I've been opening lately. But I just finally got around to getting him. So let's have a look at some of these accessories. Being a ninja, he does come with a lot of accessories. Now, if I'd have opened this guy before I opened Storm Shadow the other day, I would have realized that Storm Shadow actually reuses the backpack that comes with the Night Creeper. And if you recall, if you saw my unboxing for that, and I was talking about, I felt like the arrows were a little short for for Storm Shadow's bow and arrow set. If I'd have known that they were made for the Night Creeper's crossbow, it would have made a lot more sense to me. So, speaking of which, here's the crossbow. And this is a very distinctive crossbow, which has some extra arrows on it. And there's been a few crossbows in the G.I. Joe lineup over the years. Scarlet, of course, had the original crossbow for the G.I. Joe line, and there was the crossbow on the back of Beachhead's backpack, and the wrist-mounted crossbow that Road Pig famously had. So, but this is a somewhat larger than Scarlet's crossbow. Hers is usually more like a pistol-sized crossbow. This one's more like a rifle-sized crossbow. And you can see it's got lots of different arrows on it. And it actually has a front grip, which the original Night Creeper crossbow did not have. So, and these bolts do look to be the same length as the crossbow bolts on the actual crossbow. So, and unlike Storm Shadow, he does come with an extra arrow. So, but I don't feel like it's as essential for, they could have just molded this onto the crossbow. I don't feel like it's essential to have a removable arrow for a crossbow as it would be for an actual bow and arrow. But whatever, let's get back to some of these accessories. So he's got a couple extra hands. So let's have a look at those. We got the, this is, it almost looks like a karate chop type hand. But if you look at the inside of the palm, you can see he's actually got a climbing claw on there. And only one hand with the climbing claw, so we can't really have him climb too well with it. But whatever, it's just nice to have an extra hand in there. And then the hand that we saw on the back of the package already with the Shuriken, and I believe this is a remold of a Shuriken hand that came with the vintage card, the retro card Storm Shadow. I could be mistaken about that, but I think I have that. That came with another figure, probably Kamakura, but I don't remember for certain. It's been a while since I opened that one up, so and I'd have to dig through all my accessories to try to see if I could find it, because that's probably one that's just in my big old bin of accessories. And then he's got these two knives, slightly curved at the front, we can see at the tip of the blade, and they do seem to be identical. And they've got like a little loop at the pommel of the blade, pommel of the handle, whatever you want to call that. So two of those. Set those aside. And then he's got these two swords. Hang on a second. Come on. And these are both very distinctive swords. You can see this one's got kind of a serrated blade, and this one's got kind of more of a hooked blade. And the original Night Creeper leader had a blade that was more sort of wavy. It was kind of like this, but it was not symmetrical. It was actually made so it looked wavy, like the whole blade. Whereas this one, like the blade is kind of wavy on each. The symmetrical is what I'm trying to say. And the hooked sword is pretty cool. I like that. So I'm guessing that these will go onto the backpack in the little sections that I was able to put that bladed weapon into, and you could also put Storm Shadow swords into them, but I, preferred to put them on the scabbards, actually on his belt. So yeah, that's how that fits together. So that's nice. And let's see. Now I was able to get the Storm Shadow's bow onto the backpack, which we now know. I now know. Some of you probably already knew. Was originally the Night Creeper backpack, but it actually is made to hold this crossbow. So that's how all that fits together. These little triangular type pegs fit in these triangular holes that are actually on the crossbow. It stays on there better than Storm Shadow's bow and arrow, probably because it's actually made to do that. So that's how all that fit together. Let's see if I can find a place to put those knives. Hopefully there's some place to put the knives. But we got one more accessory to go over, and that is the alternate head. And we can see that that is a funky kind of helmet. Kind of reminds me of Black Manta a little bit. And this is based on the version 2 Night Creeper that came out much later in the 1990s. It was a completely different design from the original Night Creeper. As you can tell from this helmet, looks nothing like the cowl that the standard Night Creeper had, and a completely different color scheme. But I do feel like it's nice that they include this as a bonus, because if you do feel like army building your Night Creepers, that'll give you a little bit of variety, and you can put the 90s heads onto some of these guys. No rubber tabs holding this figure on. God bless you, Hasbro. But you know what is missing that would be really nice for this figure is a figure stand. Since we know Hasbro has molds for figure stands for G.I. Joe classified figures, I don't know why they don't just give this guy a figure stand. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Anyway, he does reuse some parts from Storm Shadow. It looks like the legs and the pelvis, but he's got a distinct boots with distinct shin guards. I think the feet might be the same as Storm Shadow. This is an all-new sculpted torso. This is not a torso that we've seen before. They could have very easily just reused, I don't know, like the Storm Shadow torso and made this as like a separate piece. They did that with the 25th anniversary version of the Night Creeper, but they chose not to with this, and that's pretty nice. He's got some muscular molded arms. I'm guessing that those probably reuse the forearms from one of the Storm Shadow figures, the bare arm Storm Shadow figures. The forearms look to be new to me because they've got this You know what? I don't know. At first, I was thinking it was molded in, but I think that's just a mold line. So I don't know if these stripy portions here are actually molded in, or it's the same kind of camouflage pattern, like this tiger stripe camouflage pattern that pants have, but it's just a little panel on the forearm. It doesn't wrap all the way around. You can see he's got like little wristband type things, but I don't know. I can't tell if this is anything that we've seen before. It does look like there's a little bit of a mold line in there though. So, but you know, whatever. And he's got the kind of standard Night Creeper head, like the original figure had. The 25th anniversary actually had it where this Havelock here was removable, but this does look to be like molded onto the same piece as the helmet, and that is permanently attached. So he's got like silver goggles, kind of like visor-looking goggles. They just go straight across like Cyclops, not actually like, you know, bisected in any way. And then he's got these little rubber sleeve type pieces. They're just attached by kind of a tab there. So hopefully it won't interfere with the articulation too much. And in fact, no, it looks like they're actually built onto the shoulders. So when I rotate his arm all the way around, it rotates the sleeve as well. So that's some nice engineering there. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the articulation. So we got these little knives here. I'm going to put one of the knives in his hand so you can see him holding the knife. And there we go. So I think I have that facing. I think you have it facing either way because it looks like it's bladed on either side. So he could have the hook facing towards the enemy, or, you know, not. We can just swap it around his hand, depending on how he wants to use it. And there are indeed a couple of little knife sheaths on his belt. So we can go ahead and stick those in there. And yeah, it fits in there fairly snugly. Not as snugly as I might like, but not really loose enough that I figure it's going to fall out. You know, see, they'll stay in there. It's just not as snug as I personally would like. So, and then the backpack should just go straight onto his back. There we go. So that's what he looks like, all geared up with everything in its proper storage space. We'll talk about the weapons a little bit more in a second, but first I want to go over the articulation on this guy. So Night Creeper can only look up about that far, so not really very far at all. It basically is like, you know, level. He's not really looking up very much. He can only look down so far. Again, you know, he's got this Havelock here, and that causes some issues with the articulation. He can't really tilt his head very quizzically from side to side. The head does rotate all the way around, but it is going to kind of bump into the shoulders a little bit there. As I noted before, his arms also rotate all the way around the shoulders. He does have a butterfly joint, so his shoulders move back about that far and forward about that far. His arms can raise up. It's kind of stiff. The arm joint is kind of stiff. And then he's also got this sleeve piece here that's kind of hindering it somewhat. So that's about as far up as I can get his sleeves to move. He does have a bicep swivel, so the bicep does rotate all the way around. So that's good. He's got double jointed elbows. And this one's kind of stiff on this side. There we go. That's about the range of articulation you get at the elbows. These standard gripping hands that are on him. This one has a vertical hinge at the wrist here, so it can move down about that far, move up about that far, rotate all the way around, and it looks like it has a vertical hinge on the other hand as well, so identical. And he does not have an ab crunch in the way that G.I. Joe figures often have the ab crunch. He has more like where it's like a 25th anniversary type joint. So it can rotate back and forth at the rib cage. He can bend back about that far, bend forward about that far, and then he's got this kind of you know, O-ring type it's not actually O-ring articulation, but it's like an old O-ring, but it's on a peg anyway. You know, instead of an actual O-ring. But that can give you like almost like an 80s style articulation at the the waist, so that's nice. He can kick up about that far. He's got the drop down hips, like most of these classified figures have. So he's got a pretty good range of motion as far as that goes. He can do the splits, no problem. The Night Creeper does have a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around, as you can see. He's got double jointed knees, so that's about the range of motion we get at the knees. He does have a boot cut, so rotates all the way at the shin. And then he's got the rocker ankles here, which point down about that far, point up about that far. They're kind of stiff. They're, I think that the joint itself is kind of stiff, like on mine. And I don't want to move it too much because I don't want to break it, because that is kind of a delicate joint. So I'm just going to hit that with a hairdryer later and see if I can get it to loosen up any at all. So let's have a look at some of these accessories here. I'm going to start off with the crossbow. So we can put the crossbow in his hand, and it does have a trigger guard, so we can put the trigger finger into the trigger guard. So there he is with that. And that's usually how I had my Night Creeper hold the crossbow when I was a kid. Because like I said, it didn't have this foregrip. But since it has a foregrip, let's see if we can get into a good two-handed grip with that. So we get the elbow bent right, and the left hand, get it onto that foregrip. And that looks pretty cool. I like how that looks. So let's go ahead and take this back off, set it aside, and move on to the swords. Sword. You took my father's sword. And neither of these, I feel like, are 100% accurate to what the vintage Night Creeper came with. But that having been said, I do feel like even though they aren't really 100% accurate to the way that those swords were executed on the original figure, I do feel like that they kind of fit the spirit of it. They feel like legit Night Creeper swords, even if they're not like 100% what he had when I was a kid. So they look pretty cool. I like them on him. Let's go ahead and put the backpack onto him, and then we can get the full effect. And the crossbow, get that back onto the backpack. I'm probably not going to do... the crossbow bolt fell out. So I'm going to put it back on the crossbow, and then... I'm going to stick it on his back, and hopefully it'll hold that crossbow bolt on there so it won't fall off too easily once it's on his backpack. Come on! Don't be like this. You went on so well earlier. Don't embarrass me now. I'd hate to be a grown man opening action figures on the internet and be embarrassed. So there we go. There he is with the two swords. Try to get him into like a little bit more of a ninja type position with those swords. So like the Night Creepers were basically mercenaries. They were guns for hire. They weren't technically members of Cobra, but like with the Dreadnoks, they were mercenaries that worked with Cobra quite frequently. Although it says he's a Cobra on the back of this one now, so maybe they did wind up officially joining up with Cobra. Who knows? So, but he's a cool looking figure, and I suppose it would look pretty impressive if you were going to army build like a whole bunch of these guys, but I'm probably not going to. I don't really have a whole lot of space to army build 6-inch figures, and they're a little more expensive to do than they were with the 3 3/4-inch figures. Like I do have a ton of blue Cobra Troopers and Crimson Guardsmen because they were fairly able. It was fairly easy to get them for cheap for a while. We got a comment from Zazzle's Clubhouse says, "Man, that looks cool." I agree. I think he's a very cool looking figure. I'm very happy with how he turned out. You know, like I said, I had the original Night Creeper when I was a kid, and I thought he was a really cool figure. And I think that they translated it pretty well into this classified style. I had the 25th anniversary. No, it wasn't the 25th anniversary version. It was a remold of the 25th anniversary version that they made for the Rise of Cobra, and it was in a 2-pack with another character. I think it was Shockwave that he was in the 2-pack with, and it was an all right figure, but I don't think it was as impressive as this one is. This one, I think they did a way better job of translating the Night Creeper into a modern kind of style. But that's just my opinion. Night Creeper Leader is a bit of a letdown, but I'd be interested in seeing him in classified form. Yeah, like I liked the Night Creeper Leader, but he was goofy. He was a really goofy figure. And it's one of those things where he's one of those characters where I feel like you like him if you embrace the goofiness of him. If you can embrace the goofiness of Night Creeper Leader, that he's a guy with like bright orange tiger stripe pants, then you're going to enjoy that figure. But as far as like, trying to fit him into a world of realistic military type characters, he's definitely more of a niche character. Let's put it that way. Yeah, the Night Creeper itself, I think, is a better figure than either one of the vintage Night Creeper Leader figures. The Retro Tinker says that is awesome, and I agree. Very cool figure. So yeah, I'm happy with how he turned out. Maybe if I can find another, like if they had this guy pop up at like Ross or Ollie's or something, and I could get a bunch of them for cheap, maybe I would army build them. But as it is, these figures are kind of expensive, and space is at a premium too. Like I could only display so many of these guys. I kind of figure like 3 is about my limit for an army builder in terms of classified scale. And even then, like I've probably got more of that in terms of like the standard blue Cobra troopers and officers, but that's just because those are my favorite army builder figures in GI Joe anyway. And I think I've got like maybe like somewhere between 4 and 6 Crimson Guardsmen, and that's because I found them at Ollie's for fairly cheap. Yo Joe, indeed. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back probably sometime tomorrow, but I don't know exactly when yet. And I've got some more stuff to open. I think that tomorrow my Alpine figure is supposed to show up, so that'll probably be the next one I do. And if not, he'll be sometime this week. I got 2 other classified things to open this week, and then we're probably going to get back to DC Universe or DC Multiverse because I've got so many of them. So, all right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Oh wait, 3 is good. I built Slaughter and started Slaughter and over 430 slaughters. Wow. All right. Thank you all for watching. We will talk to you next time. Bye.